Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:26 p.m. April 10th, 2023. Anthony Tharp making another insert. I'm getting a little late start because I was on the highway today, just got off, and so let me at least try to get this in. Today I'm just going to be addressing the issue of who's in charge and who's in charge in Jamaica and who's in charge pretty much of any country and who is accountable to whom. And those two issues are raised because I was listening to Carlos TV, a blogger, which a lot of you probably know. I was listening to him, it was yesterday or day before yesterday, and he was playing a tape, or it probably was a video, but I was just hearing the recording of Miss Lisa Hanna. I think she was MP then, addressing the tourism minister, whatever his name is, everybody knows him, the tourism minister. And I was a little offended because of his offensive approach to what he was trying to deliberate or instruct or devise or give us advice as to what's good for us, what's best for us, what we can't do, what we can do. And in his opinion, he was using the analogy of a pyramid. The guy was talking about those at the top of the pyramid versus those at the bottom of the pyramid. And according to him, we are the bunch of people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, and we must pretty much accept what we get because this is what we can handle and what we can do, while the other people should be at the top because they have the investment dollars and the sense and all of that. And I say sense meaning not only money sense, but sense brain wise, to be up there operating, running cruise ships, running hotels, bringing people to Jamaica. And therefore pretty much Miss Hannah should keep her mouth shut. But when he was telling Miss Hannah that, he wasn't telling Mrs. Hannah that. He was telling us that Jamaicans are just too dumb and stupid to run major enterprises. So when they're divesting parts of our country to foreign investors, then we should pretty much just keep our mouth shut and allow them to do what they want to do. He's such a bright person that he's underestimating the people of Jamaica because that's his mentality. And I would submit that the inferiority and the ignorance is not on the people of Jamaica, but on him. And I think that extends to every politician that's been selling this country and the people of Jamaica short. And the people of the Caribbean, because they treat all of us the same. These politicians who, because we were too slow to recognize that we need to put intelligent people in place, we keep putting them back. And they disappoint us each and every time because our economy has gotten worse and worse and worse over every decade that they've served this country. Now, you tell me, wouldn't you be offended to hear an employee of the state? Because that's what he is. He's an employee of the state. He works for us. We pay his salary. We pay every airfare. He gets on a plane and flies all over the world and goes all over the place, all those fringe benefits. And he's going to tell us that we must be satisfied with the tail end of anything. Tail end. That's what he's saying. That's how I interpreted it. And what he was saying makes no sense. Because you never ever want to, when you're doing any kind of financial analysis or economic analysis, you don't even want to mention pyramid. It's a no-no. Pyramid has never worked for anybody in economics. And when you see the term pyramid, beware. And be aware that you're going to be ripped off. And that's exactly what's happening to Jamaica. Now I'm mentioning this because I heard about I think Miss Anna was addressing medical health industry and spas, and I think Milk River Bath was mentioned and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But the point I'm making is, you have Jamaicans both home, who are intelligent, and abroad, who are not only intelligent, but operating and managing major industries. In every sphere of every economy, you have Jamaicans and Caribbean people working and building those enterprises. I think Microsoft, for example, it's a Jamaican Caribbean person. That's in the top echelons of Microsoft. And here's this fellow down in Jamaica who's been paid by us, telling us that we should be satisfied with the bottom of the pyramid. Anything at the bottom of the pyramid gets crushed. And rather than sitting and saying to Miss Hannah and the Jamaican people, listen, we will take it and look at what you're saying. We will get together with our securities investment industry in Jamaica, those that are Jamaicans, and come up, ask entrepreneurs to submit proposals, local entrepreneurs to submit proposals, and the one that's deemed the best for the country, that's the one you go with. Doesn't matter where anybody comes from when it comes to investment, but when you're trying to build your economy, when you have foreign investors coming in, there's only one way that money is going to go, and that's out. And Jamaica cannot build this economy and become sustainable over long periods of time if all our money goes out. And when people come in and they say at all these resorts and they come on the cruise ships, everybody knows that the bulk of the money goes back out. For one thing, if you have ever been on a cruise, Mr. Tourism Minister, which I think you might have been, and if you haven't been, you should go, and you'll see the nature and culture of cruise ships. Cruise ships, when they land in ports, people don't spend a lot of money in the ports where they land, because guess what? When you're on the cruise ship, they tell you, buy everything, carry everything, your snacks, everything, put it in your knapsack, carry, walk, be careful, don't spend, look out for harassment, because they're selling the very same things on board. So you need to stop treating Jamaicans in a condescending way, as if you're somebody scolding somebody about their own country. And that's why I'm saying this video is about who's in charge, who is accountable to whom. And as far as I can tell, you work for the Jamaican people. Every one of you that's elected work for the Jamaican people. You're employees of the Jamaican people, and therefore you're accountable to the Jamaican people. And if they put you in to build the economy and the economy is not being built, then you either resign or they fire you. Unfortunately, our people have not learned that they are in charge, because in one breath I heard Mrs. Hannah or Miss Hannah being pretty strong, but at the tail end I saw where she was kind of subdued, as if she was bowing to this criticism in such an insultive way that you don't know what you're saying. Pay attention to what we've been doing and see we've been successful, because some money stays back, because some money, little bit of money. When the lady was simply saying, if we control the damn thing, we're going to make the bulk of the money. That is all she was saying, and that is what your country needs. Because if you control the spas or whatever industry or feature or attraction we have, you're going to control the most of the money, most of the income, most of the earnings. It's not going to be going outside of the country, because it's owned and operated by Jamaicans. And when I say owned and operated by Jamaicans, I'm not talking about the Jamaican government. We need to get the Jamaican government out of business, because you don't know how to run business. Every business you go into, it's a ruin. You ruin it, you cheat the Jamaican people, and we end up in major issues. And I'm going to mention, I heard on the news or one of these bloggers earlier on a little podcast or newscast about the railway line from Montego Bay to Appleton will be revitalized, or an attempt will be made to do it. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time that railway came into focus in the news and became part of the news cycle was when, under the PNP, I think it was Mr. Pickettskill, they spent over $50 million on that railway, and not a thing happened to it other than that money was spent and no accountability. Where's that money now? Nobody knows. So I hear they're going to spend 40 odd million US dollars on the railway again. Government shouldn't be involved in anything like that. Nothing at all. Appleton wants it to get to Appleton. Let Appleton put up the resources to get that railway working so it travels from Montego Bay to Appleton, because that's what you're going to be doing. Why is government going to spend Jamaican citizens' money, hard-earned money, that we need to do a whole bunch of stuff on something that's going to be beneficial to Appleton that's not even owned by Jamaicans? Appleton is not owned by Jamaicans. So we're going to put money out there for them to go make more money. They don't invest in any infrastructure to get people to their factory and to their rum, which is world class. Nobody is knocking that. But the Jamaican people shouldn't be footing any bill to give Appleton any railroad to carry people for them to go make money. It sounds to me like the con that the Sandals group pulled on Jamaican citizens, and the Jamaica government supported it and went along with it, where Sandals pretty much took the airline, Air Jamaica, used it to haul their people, their visitors or their guests to their hotels in Jamaica, and then the few Jamaicans who used to get on board, if they could get on board, were the ones that were subsidizing the airline. And when they didn't make a profit, guess who paid the bill? If I'm not mistaken, we had to be paying like 300 and something million per year if the airline didn't make any profit. I could be wrong. I know that's the same arrangement they have with JPS. And these are the so-called intelligent people giving people advice about industry and how to run industry and accept what we're doing, because this is how we're working and you better accept it. You're the people who have been making these horrific decisions about our economy. Now, how is it that we allow Butch Stewart to make all that money, and all his money isn't staying in Jamaica, by the way? So don't let's say because he's Jamaican and we gave him an award, a recognition that he's Jamaican. He's a British citizen as far as I'm concerned. And though Jamaican, the fact is, the bulk of his money and the bulk of Sandals' money doesn't stay in Jamaica. And maybe you can't blame them, because they can't trust this government. They can't trust Jamaica governments. They can't trust the corruption that exists here. But while saying that, we should make that foolish mistake again of go taking $40 million and spend on any railroad to haul tourists to Appleton and not the people. If it's going to serve Jamaicans, fine, invest in it. Appleton can put their own coaches on there and haul their people on there. But if it's strictly for this tourism package that's going to service Appleton, then no. If it's going to be the same arrangements we made with Butch Stewart and the Sandals group, where we have them using our airlines, running it into the ground, and when it was time to pay up or shut up, they shut up and shut it down, and we lost because we eventually sold our airline off, the pride of a nation, the pride of the Caribbean. We sold it off for pennies on the dollar, and we're not benefiting, because from they sold it and we end up with Caribbean Airlines. We've never paid airline fare so high in the history of Jamaica. So it's not even serving the Jamaican people, because guess what? They're overbilling us. So some people could have afforded some airline ticket to travel, go from vacation elsewhere. We can't do it again. It's so expensive. But here again, we're talking about doing the very same thing. We're talking about now divesting more stuff to foreigners, rather than putting it out there and say Jamaicans have an opportunity to invest in this product, come up with no plans, come up with no strategies, put up or shut up. If Jamaicans don't put up, then we shut up. But don't just sell it and leave it that, oh, we're making this decision because we are the government. You're an employee of the Jamaican people. You don't have no right selling off nothing for Jamaica unless Jamaicans decide they don't want it, or they can put up the kind of money or strategy that we need to make it operational. And in terms of putting up money, you drive up all over Jamaica, you see mansions and mega mansions and people looking for places to put their money, and not just in SSL type businesses where after a couple of years you hear these people are bankrupt or they take people's money and run and swindle people. We're talking about setting up enterprises that are productive, that generate profit from production, from profit from product. And SSL now have no product. Investment house has no product. They invest in other things. And if those other things fail, then we fail. That's why when you buy securities, when you go in there, you know you're putting in a penny today, you could lose that very same penny within minutes of you putting it in. Because there is no production. It's not hedged against production and productivity. It's hedged against hysteria and people chasing shares and stocks and bonds based on the brokers making arrangement to sell or hold. It's not based on anything else, but that's what you want us to do. So again, it was offensive, and I'm saying this again because for example, with me and my investment group, though some of my investors are in fact foreigners, but the vast majority of them are Caribbean people, Jamaicans, and the bulk of our investment is designed to be placed in Jamaica, in other Caribbean territories. Yet we're getting all this fight. We're getting all this fight. And you're going to sit up there now and have no programs, nothing in place to encourage Jamaicans to invest in their own country. But you're going to insult us. That we should just accept what you say. You're some genius, some brilliant person who is part of the mechanism that's been running this country in the ground, and you're talking about we should listen to you? No. You have people out there with the experience, the know-how, and the resources, the money to invest in Jamaica. And they name Jamaicans, they name Caribbean people, and they're willing to do it. People in North America, Jamaicans in North America, it's like sometimes they have this obsession, they're looking for something to put in Jamaica. That's why they put in a home, they buy a villa, all of that stuff. And in most cases, they end up losing long term because they don't end up coming back to Jamaica because of so many deterrents to coming back. It's not encouraging. But they're still looking to put their money here. They take cruise ships, they get here. A lot of people that come on these ships, the Jamaicans, and they slip in and slip out. A lot of them who fly in for vacation are Jamaicans. In fact, I'd say the vast majority of people who come in and are amongst the Jamaican populace as visitors are in fact Jamaicans coming home. So if Jamaicans have the opportunity to invest in this country, they will. So we need to get off of this whole idea that we don't know what we want to do, how to do it, and that we don't have the resources. Jamaicans abroad have a ton of money. Jamaicans in Jamaica have a ton of money. And instead of sitting it in the bank where the bank is eating it out. You see, in fact, if you just sit down and look at the fact that people with money in the bank charge them a service charge literally every month, and they eat out people's money until they don't have anything in there. If persons had solid investment opportunities, investing in real estate proper, like the Milk River Bar or any other attraction that we have, solid, concretized investment, you don't think Jamaicans would invest in there? I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 20 years ago, could be more, when there was this whole thing with the Rollins and thousands of acres of land in Montego Bay that Citibank, the government, they had foreclosed on the Rollins, taking the property legitimately in the United States, put it on the market and the Jamaican government bought it. And I remembered P.J. Patterson sold or gave away all that land back to the Rollins in exchange for 4 acres of land across from Holiday Inn. Ridiculous. And there were Jamaicans here prepared and were screaming, so we will pay for those thousands and thousands of acres of land that you're giving back to the Rollins. And I think the arrangement was if they don't do anything within 2 years, they have to pay a fine or a fee. And I think it was about $2 million. And I don't know if it was even 2 million US. But the fact is, that was nothing for them. So the land just sat there. But beyond that, that was Jamaicans' land and property. The government bought it and they turned around and gave it away. So this is not about one party versus the other making bad decisions. Politicians in Jamaica have constantly and consistently made bad decisions for the Jamaican people and the economy. Did the Rollins them do anything substantial with developing those thousands and thousands of acres? No. The bulk of the land is still sitting there. And somebody's going to get it to develop. Will they do it? I don't know. It's still sitting there. The bulk of it. So here we are now having this conversation with a minister of government. They're insulting us. You're not insulting Miss Hannah. You're insulting the entire Jamaican population. And you're insulting us. And while you're doing that, you're telling us you keep selling off our resources, our assets, for pennies on the dollar. Because if any foreign investor is buying anything from us, it's because they see the money potential. And if they can see the money potential and put together the investment dollars to put it in here, why don't we do it? What's so hard in that? Our people, if you don't know, built, managed, and ran some of the most successful empires that planet Earth will see or will ever see. Can't be rivaled even today. And yet the same people are the same people who make up the Jamaican population. But because we had leadership over these centuries who underestimated us, undermined our ability to move forward and sell us out. You think we got to the Caribbean because they were political leaders or representatives in Africa that sold us out? That sold out our assets and resources? Who own the gold mines and the diamond mines throughout Africa? Who owns the precious metals industry in those areas? Who are the diamond cutters? Not us. Because we had political leaders that are always selling us short, selling us, undermining our business. Because if these people are coming in and can go develop those assets and resources, why are we so silly that we can't hire the same technicians and expertise that they hired to run these things? And Butch Stewart is a good example. Butch Stewart used to sell car parts and stoves and all of that, appliance traders. And then he went into the tourism industry. He was an astute business person, obviously. But what he did, he surrounded himself with employees that knew the business. So if we need to run a spa in Jamaica, you feel we don't have the qualification, then hand it over to entrepreneurs in Jamaica who are willing to put up the money and go international and hire managers for those facilities and train local people to work in those facilities, rather than taking this constant stance that we're going to keep selling ourselves short. This constant crying out for foreign investors is doing nothing but undermining the country, and we can see the results of that. The Jamaican economy has not grown in any way that makes sense, because as you put out, we grow 10% or 2%. Inflation globally grew 20 and 25%. So where's the growth? But that's what you do. You throw out numbers and random numbers and tell people, the economy grew by 2% this year. We expected it to grow 1, but it grew 2, so we're doing well. But what about the external markets where we have to import everything? Where when we're using our own resources, we have to pay so much for it. It's always something else. So I know the frustration of a lot of people, but the reality is, as I always said, it's up to us. Jamaicans have to start asserting themselves that they're the ones in charge. These people work for you, work for us. The Prime Minister doesn't work for himself. So when the Prime Minister is in there now, and he's been in the press a lot these days, and the Integrity Commission and him failing to file his assets and all of that, that's required by law. And he doesn't do it. What do you do with a person like that? You have an employee that you say must produce a health certificate before he can come in and prepare your food, and they keep coming without that health certificate. What do? You fire them, and you get other people who will do and comply to your job description and your requirements for holding that job. The Prime Minister can't be going out there and simply ignoring the law and doing all of that and walking over everybody, because that's what you do when you're doing that, and nobody else can do that and get away with it. You're not paying. It's bad. It's really bad that you have a politician that's the Prime Minister who is dodging taxes by putting his money elsewhere out of the country, which weakens this economy. But yet you have your tax department chasing other people to pay all kind of taxes, including the madman on the road who have to pay GCT when he buy anything. How can we have leadership with that kind of attitude and expect this country to be better? And again, I go back and I said, listen, a crook is going to be a crook regardless, and he's not going to do anything to fix the things that's going to work against him. So it's like beating a dead horse by us constantly going over the same argument day in, day out, year after year. We have the same thing. I grew up hearing the same thing. Politicians are corrupt. Politicians are this. They look out for themselves. They look out for their friends. They sell out the country. We keep talking the same thing over and over, and we do nothing to make a change. That's because we lack the resolve, I would say, to be responsible. We have to be responsible and hold them accountable, and we're not willing to do it. Vast majority of people sit with their mouths shut, and then they expect other people to do their bid, and when it doesn't work, then of course everybody suffers. And I'm going to say, sadly enough, and I'll say, Jamaicans living abroad have options. Jamaicans living at home, your options are limited. And what these politicians are doing, making things so bad for you that your options in terms of limitation is going to increase. Because the more this economy does bad, the greater it's going to be for other countries to limit Jamaicans leaving, going abroad, doing, studying, working, whatever the case may be. So it does have a recurring effect on the entire country and what you could do as an individual. So this idea is that, oh, I'm not working in the tourism industry, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if somebody comes in and spend the money, buy the spa for pennies on the dollar, and typically they give them some long-term lease. Oh, we're not selling it, we're leasing it. Big difference. When you lease something to a person for 100 years or 99 years, and they suck out all the money out there, whatever facilities were built, when they leave, it's done. But we would have lost significant returns over that period. And again, why don't we get involved with it? And I'm saying, I'm not talking about government getting involved with any enterprise. Government is supposed to be in their own business, because you're competing with the citizens when it comes to business. It's just like the Integrity Commission, and the purpose for that act was to ensure that politicians report, or civil servants report, their assets and all of that to the state or the country or the people, and give a report to the people, because we don't want them to be out there competing with other people within the country that put them there to work for them. If you want to go run your own enterprise, leave government, leave civil service, and go open your own thing. That's all. But when you're doing it the other way and hiding assets and sending your money abroad and investing abroad, in short, that's what it works out to be. And your country is here struggling, and then you're telling the people who have no options or limited options, we're too dunce, we're too dumb, and we're too ignorant to operate our own enterprises. No, we have a whole bunch of intelligent people out there who are looking for opportunities. What government needs to do is create the atmosphere where people have access to these enterprises, to these opportunities. And like I've always said, I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I'm not. Carlos TV and all the other bloggers, you do your talking. You can contact me. I have the evidence. It's not guessing. This very minister, when we first came into Jamaica and we were proposing one of the largest resort developments, which we got approved on the island, I remember it was Miss Marlene Stevenson, or is it Stevenson? Radio personality, really good, nice person. They were having, I think, Jazz Fest out by Rose Hall, and she heard about the project and she was excited, and so she invited me to the fest, the Jazz Festival at the time, and introduced me to this gentleman, and to say, we're doing this, is there anything the minister can do to push us forward? You know what the guy said to me? Oh, well, I heard you were doing a project in Florida and it didn't go anywhere. You see the ignorance. I'm doing a project in Florida and it didn't go anywhere. Do you know why it didn't go anywhere? But that said, what does that have to do with the fact that I'm on the ground in Jamaica with investors with tons of money to spend, and that's the attitude? Because he was just pretty much dismissing me to say, oh, well, your project in Florida failed. I guess he doesn't know that the vast majority of major developments in the United States and first world countries, some of them fail, some of them are stalled, but eventually, if the entrepreneur and the developer is astute enough, they get the things done. It's not about the developer in most cases. It's oftentimes the market. But instead of sitting down and have an intelligent discussion of how you, as the tourism minister, facilitate one of the largest real estate developments in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, make it work and create the environment so that there is success, that's their attitude. And that's the same attitude he approached this whole thing with Miss Hannah and this speech. Condescending. Because they're in there sucking up our money, sucking up taxpayers' dollars and cents. They work for us and disrespect us. Jamaicans, we have so much potential. Those of us who are out there and you know what potential you have, what skills you have, you know what you could do here. Most of us are being driven abroad, driven away from here, because we've been looking at options, and there's so many options out there, but for some reason we're still looking to do things in Jamaica. But when you have a Jamaican government that's so corrupt, and I don't hide from it, they're corrupt, and they keep the courts corrupt because the courts work for them. And again, it was Carlos TV that mentioned this thing about the security guards, and they went to court, and apparently somebody was supposed to collect money for I think it was NHT was supposed to collect money from the employers for these people's statutory deductions. And when they went to court, the judge was like, oh, they took too long to collect the money, so the companies don't have to pay. And I think they I don't know the ruling, I don't know of it, but essentially I think the judge was probably saying, oh, the statute of limitations ran out, and therefore the judge, there are no statute of limitations and statutory deductions, none. And if there were any issues with collections and who's supposed to pay or not pay what, NHT had the responsibility of collecting the money from these people who worked. It's not that they didn't work, It's not that these companies didn't collect the money. It was that NHT, from my understanding from what Carlos TV was putting out there, was that the Ministry of Housing, was it the Ministry of Housing or NHT, whichever one, failed to collect the money from the security companies or the employers, and therefore the court is now saying they took too long to collect the money. First of all, any judge that made that decision, you need to go check them out and find who did it. I'm pretty sure it's one of those same judges who've been making all these bad decisions that ruin people's lives. Because you're now telling me that the people worked, withhold the people's money. This company kept the people's money, and you're telling the people now, based on the conversation I heard, that you can't get your money back because NHT or whichever government entity it was failed to collect the money from your employer. If there were any liabilities, it would have been NHT is liable to these employees for their money, because NHT was the one that should have collected the money. The other phase of that is that statutory deductions don't occur in one swipe or one sweep. It occurs on a monthly basis. Therefore, even if the statute of limitation would be run on some of it, it couldn't run on all of it. And therefore I said, that's why we need. I'm always going to point out that the biggest problem we have in this country is corruption. And the biggest supporter of the corruption is the courts. And are these judges who are either incompetent, ignorant, don't care, corrupt themselves, because they caught themselves now bailing out this company. They caught themselves letting go the government, because nobody is being held accountable for money that the government should have collected. The government didn't collect it. It's a part of government policy. It's a part of the law. It's a law that made them write these things, or it's government, parliament that made them write these things into law. So it's a law. So if the government failed to collect the people their money, now must the government responsible? And therefore I'm encouraging these security guards, if any one of you hear this, contact every one of you. I want to go out and tell government to not want the money, because it's government that owes you the money. And so, alright, I don't know how the judge came up with this conclusion, but as you have seen from all the videos I've done, I'm showing you the kind of decisions that's going down in these courts by these judges are questionable. At best. At worst, it's deliberate. And so we can't sit around and allow these things to continue in this country, because I don't know how we've survived this long without major chaos in the streets. Because you're stealing opportunities from people, you're stealing people's property, you're stealing the hard work, because when you take all them people's money that a company took and tell them, they can't get the money and they can't get the benefits. Because I guess this came out of Carlos's presentation about government offering pensions to people who gave up their benefits in the past. But now that I'm thinking about it, they probably structured it this way to say to the security persons that they were offering, you have to give up this money that the government owes you, because it's not this company that owes them now. This company owes nothing to these security guards. This company should have been held accountable by government, because government should have been collecting that money. It's government that's liable for that money. So think about what you're doing before you're doing it, because as I've always said, whenever you see somebody coming and offer you something, what are they getting out of it? So they're trying to remove the liability that government accrued because of their own negligence, and therefore now you must give up your thing in some tricky contract to get a pension. When in truth and in fact, if you get your money and you invest it, you probably don't need no pension from these people. And if you get your money to invest it, and you invest it in assets in your country, in resorts in your country, in projects in your country, then you probably don't need no pension from them. So get your money and tell the Minister of Tourism to stop chatting garbage because you want your money from the government. You're going to take your money and you're going to come together. You guys are going to get together and advertise internationally and take that money and employ people international, if we don't have the talent here, to come down and take your money, invest it in the spa and get your pension. You don't need nobody to trick you out of your money, because that's what they do with us as a people. They trick poor people, working class people out of their money and their rights all the time. So again, you're not stupid. Every person that's in there or in this country isn't stupid. So when them talk about take your money or you waive your right to your money and they'll give you a pension, chances are your money invested by yourself will give you more than they can give you with any pension, because a lot of you near retirement already. And how many years now you're going to get in terms of deductions for pension? Because the money has to come from somewhere, and if they don't have the money to pay you and they can't bill or charge anybody else taxes to put money in an account for you, then the money has to come from you when you work. It's a vicious cycle. But don't fall for this nonsense, because that's what they do to us. So stand up. It's about protecting your rights, protecting your assets, protecting your own economy. If you don't have all of that packed and covered, guess what? Your life down the road is ruined. You want to live the best life you can for as long as you can, retire and still enjoy your life, or have assets and resources to enjoy your life. If you allow these people to continue with the corruption and have judges in there ripping this country off, because again, I'm going to tell you and remind you that the Supreme Court and the Appeals Court have been making some horrendous decisions. Right now, there is a major bank, an international bank, that is using this court to stop billions. I'm not talking about billion Jamaican dollars. I'm talking about billions of US dollars that was designed to come into this country to build resources and resorts that we have approved from coming in. These judges, and the government is silent on it. We filed papers with the police, we filed papers with the Chief Justice of the court, we've filed papers with the government itself, the Prime Minister's office itself, and so many other people. All of them, every one of them, about the fraud that's been employed to stop us from collecting money that's destined to do projects in Jamaica. And we don't commit no crime. That money is clean money that could have built out this entire thing that was stopped, and so we're owed this money and they're stopping it from coming in. And so it's not just about, again, I remind you, every time the government does something that hurts money coming into this country, that legitimately is going to be in this country's economy and circulating in this country, it's hurting you. It's hurting your quality of life. It's hurting the quality of life of your children. It's hurting your future in terms of health care, your health benefits, the standard of living. It's hurting you, especially you Jamaicans, us Jamaicans who cannot leave this place and go anywhere else. As I said, those of us who live abroad, we have a whole bunch of options. For one, we don't have to come back to Jamaica. That's a given. We are here because we choose to come back to Jamaica. We choose to try to want to continue to invest in this country and make this place a better place. It's a matter of choice. It costs us less money to stay in Florida, stay in the United States, than move to Jamaica, but a lot of us do it. And these are the people that the Jamaican government are trying to hurt, damage and destroy, and in so doing they're hurting you as well. Take the time to think about what you want for yourself in life. If you want to die in poverty, or you want the worst kind of lifestyle, just continue to accept the nonsense. Forget the fact that you're the boss. Sit around, put yourself on the head chair around your dining table and pretend for a few minutes that you are the boss. You're running your enterprise. And then who are your employees? these government officials, the police, civil servants, all of them work for you. And that they must be accountable to you, not insult you and rob you up and do things that hurt your economy and undermine your country, and then treat you as if you don't say anything to me. In fact, don't say a word. Whatever I do, you do. The Prime Minister still not file him in statutory requirements as in terms of his assets, and we're sitting here asking, Mr. Prime Minister, when you go and file your thing, you know, ask the man, like, you tell him go file it or left this country, left the government. Andrew Holness is an employee of the people. Andrew Holness is not subject to any kind of royalty or any kind of treatment as if he's some king or overlord. He's employed by the people of the country, and so are every other politicians. And when they come out and insulting you, put them in a place. Now accept the foolishness. Put them in a place. And because they've been getting away with it so long, because you tolerate it, Jamaicans tolerate it. Jamaicans sit down there, you know, and who know say the court's full of corruption. Because if you didn't know, then go Google it. I've suggested to you, go Google it. Don't take my word for it. Google it. Every international organization that reports on corruption has Jamaica at the top of the list, amongst the top tier of corrupt countries in the world. And a country isn't just corrupt. The leadership of the country must be corrupt for the country to be corrupt. The courts, the corruption. The report from the U.S. State Department the other day spells it out. Corruption in the courts. But are we telling these people that work for us and they need to step up or step off? Clean up the act. In fact, we should just clean out the entire court system and bring in fresh persons who have been trained or retrained and deprogrammed. Because the same bad apple going to cause the disease to spread, because that's what's going on, and that's why they keep getting away with it. So I want to thank you for giving me the time to share. I know a lot of people, you're so concerned about your own life and the struggles you're going through, and you figure, you know, I don't have time to focus on anything else outside my own realm, outside my own environment. But the reality is that's not reality. Everything else that's happening in your country around you affects you. It determines the quality of life you can live and you should want to live. So I'm encouraging you again, with God's help, we are working on putting some stuff in place to hold these people accountable. And we're not asking government to do anything, because you can't ask the very corrupt to manage the corrupt. That's like asking a fox to watch your chickens or a mongoose to watch the chickens in your hen house. You can't do it. It's like asking a thief to watch your money when you know you're a thief. It's not going to work out. So we're using a different approach and strategy, and we're putting that together. And I said, we actually started to put stuff in place, and if God allows it, we'll have the time to do it. However, my goal, as I've always said, is not about me, it's not about any other person, it's about you and what you want to achieve. And it means we need young people. I need young people with the energy, with the intellect, with the intelligence, with the foresight, the insight, to want to play a role to make their lives better by taking up the mantle. And again, the mantle I'm talking about is no sacrifice. It's just putting your minds to work, playing a role in guiding your country and holding these politicians, these judges, civil servants, you name them, security persons, hold them accountable. Protect your little village, your little community, by being conscious of what's going on and playing a role in doing it. And as I said, all we have to do is share it. Go to the comment section and make a comment, make a suggestion. And I want to thank those persons who have been subscribing. I really thank you, because again, we're working with a platform that uses an algorithm that, if over a certain amount of people subscribe, then we'll have the resources and the time to go further faster. And the objective here is to build a platform or a channel that's going to expand into organizations that are geared to protect us from the very things that I'm talking about. It's not about just talking and then not doing anything. It's about putting permanent solutions in place so we can rid ourselves of this, because we can. It's not as difficult as a lot of people think, but we have to be responsible. So yeah, I'm asking you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, the bell, so you get the notification, and like the videos and pass it, share it, because that's what's going to get us the help we need. Everybody that comes on the platform that has an idea that could advance cleaning up our country, it's going to help your standard of living. That's all I'm saying. So please subscribe, please share the videos, make your comments in the comment section, and let's share ideas and come up with ideas. So I want to thank the persons who have been subscribing and who have been coming to the channel and checking things out. Several thousand people have been coming to the channel and paying attention to the videos. All I'm asking you to is, don't just read and listen or hear the videos or hear what I'm saying. Play a role by becoming an active part. Let's form a community of persons who want to see a better world. Alright, so thank you. Have a great evening. Looking forward to doing another video and following through. Listen to some of these other bloggers, because they have some serious issues that they've been raising, and I'm impressed with Carlos. He's passionate, he has the information, and while I am the person that will come up with strategies and ideas, and as I've said, and I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to Carlos, when you get over there, because I know some of you listen to Carlos as well, when you get over there, just make sure you tell him, yeah, spread the word, friend or brother, spread it. And if you need evidence to back up whatever you want, I am a willing participant. I have the evidence. It's in the courts, it's in documentation, it's public information, not only in the US but in Jamaica. We put it in the US so they couldn't wipe the files in Jamaica and we lose the evidence. So as I said, I'm taking several steps to ensure that the data is protected, the information is there, people can use it, share it, and then hopefully we can use it to build a country and a universe that's beneficial to all of us, where we don't have to worry about greedy, oppressive, people are blind-sighted or short-sighted about where we should be going as a species. And again, I want to take my head off to my hat off to Miss Hannah for standing up, and she shouldn't back off. And we need more young persons like Miss Hannah to get out there and shine the light on these corrupt politicians. It's rarely you find politicians will shine a light on another one, especially when she said this guy is her friend. But Miss Hannah, I wouldn't keep a friend who spoke to me like that or in such a condescending way. It's offensive. It's offensive to not only you, but to all Jamaican people who were hearing the conversation, because there was no need for it. Thank you. Have a great one. And talk to you later. As I've always said, look in the mirror, hug yourself, hug your family, keep them close, and make sure you make a plan that's going to be there to protect you and them long into the future. Bye.